Good evening, Amy. How are you doing?
I am well. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So
Good.
when did you start your organization? Hoosiers, Hoosiers
Good.
for Life,
Yeah, Hoosiers for Life. 2016. So
2016? Oh,
yep,
wow.
been a little while.
Yeah, well, almost 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
2000
Yes, I totally know.
no,
It
no,
is.
2016. Sorry, I was right.
I'm like, did I do the math wrong?
About,
Or did you do the
um,
math wrong?
yeah, about close. Well, it's about 8 years. Well,
Yes,
still,
that sounds better.
yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
I was right. You were wrong.
Right. So, yeah, well, uh,
It happens.
it happens. And uh, uh, yeah, I thought you said 2006. I was wrong there. Anyway, why
Right.
did you start that organization?
Oh, originally I started it because, um, well, I felt like I was moved by the Lord to start it, really. I have a long history of pregnancy loss and
Mhm.
infertility, and I feel like the Lord used that in my life, those traumatic things in my life, to bring the attention to me that abortion was a thing. I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know we did that here. I
Mm.
was that disattached from the things that were happening around me that um just didn't even realize that it was such a huge problem, like that it actually occurred here.
Right.
And so just through a different doors opening and things that he did in my life, I found myself starting the organization and doing what I felt like should have been done all along. And that was to build something that said, this isn't okay, and we mean it.
Right. Right.
So that's what
Right.
we did.
Right.
Yep.
And your organization has been very clear since the start that uh, you want what you want to see is to abolish abortion.
Yes, very
Yeah,
much so.
yeah,
Mhm.
because you do say hear people on the Republican side of it is more like, oh, we cannot just ban
Mhm.
abortion. Maybe we can regulate it, right? So, but definitely late term abortion that is in our state that's illegal, right?
Um, they say it is,
Okay.
but yes, but there are occasions that it still happens inside a hospital setting.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, yes. And that's what they call the exception of the life of the mother exception.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But we truly believe that you can remove the child from the womb without murdering it.
Right.
And yeah, and treat both mother and baby as equal patients.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I started to hear about you actually from my friend John Jacob, and yeah, he has been a uh, champion of that. I mean, he went to like before he became a representative, he actually went to the abortion clinic and there to to uh, to preach the gospel to them and really pleading with them not to murder their baby. Yeah.
Yes, John is a truth teller.
Mhm.
And I've bumped into him several times at the abortion clinic, and he's very passionate about not only telling women and men the truth of what is happening right in front of them, but also pleading for the lives of the preborn babies. And
Right.
he's very genuine about that.
Right. Yeah. And also, yeah, he and Kurt nicely in the house, trying to accomplish that. But um, he had a lot of oppositions, right? It's also, I think, you probably have met a lot of oppositions too. Is that
Mhm.
true?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I think anytime that you're fighting for something that is good and right and true, um, you will always have hard things come against you. It's
Mhm.
always going to be a fight,
Right, right,
from
right.
all through history. Anything good that we remember in history, any heroic tale or somebody that stood up for something valuable, humans, just human rights, that
Right.
freedom and liberty, all of those things met great opposition, and all those people met great opposition. So yeah, it's a good
Right.
fight. Sure.
And especially when there is an industry that
Mhm.
making money out of this, right?
Mhm. Yes, very much so.
Right. So that's where you have a lot of oppositions.
Mhm.
Uh, so in terms of organizations, I guess the Planned Parenthood probably is the biggest opposition. Is that accurate? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, you would think that Planned Parenthood, especially of Indiana and Kentucky, would be our biggest opposition. I have only bumped into Planned Parenthood in 7, almost 8 years, one time.
Okay.
And that was in the State House elevator, actually.
Hmm.
And oddly enough, the director at the time that I had bumped into was very polite and very nice to me, but who hasn't been very friendly to me is the kind of the complacent establishment pro-life groups.
Hmm.
We call them the Roe tolerance lobby, because they are very tolerant of Roe v. Wade. They use it as an excuse to
Right.
not press forward and end abortion. And so that is really our biggest opposition, is RTL,
Okay. So that's the rights to life.
right to life. Yes.
Right to life, and which is a national organization, right?
Yes.
Now, how about your organization? Is that just limited to Indiana?
Yes. Yes. It is a state organization. And then we derived the protection of life bill. So myself and several others sat down years ago and wrote the bill, and we fine tune it every year to the best of our ability. But since then, we have 11, 12 states now that are also currently taking our bill and using it as a template to run protection of life bills in their state as well, to abolish abortion. So that's
Right,
that's
right.
pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of, in a way, uh, like I got flyers from a candidate uh, running for primary. So he claimed that he is pro-life because he is endorsed by Hoosier, I think called Indiana Right to Life.
Okay.
I think a lot of GOP politicians actually have that, especially the incumbent.
Mhm. Yeah. Generally, the rule for Indiana Right to Life is they only endorse incumbents. Now, this year, they did extend that a little bit and moved into districts that were open seats where there wasn't an incumbent. So um, they definitely they stay on the side of the establishment.
Okay.
They just plainly do. They want to regulate abortion. They want to work inside the confines of that box. And we stand outside of the box and say, no, we're just done with it. And I explain it like this. Sometimes there are so many things that we can talk about and compromise on. There are many things in the
Mhm.
state legislature that we can all sit around the table and have a great conversation and figure out what is best. But when you do that, you place whatever item you're talking about in the center of the table, and then everybody discusses how they feel about it and what is the best for the state and for the people and the budget and all of those things. But when it comes to life, when it comes to innocent human life,
Mhm.
and you lay a baby in the middle of the table, it is absolutely appalling to me that we can make rules that say, well, we can murder it as long
Yeah.
as it's such and such old. Or if, sometimes we say regulation of abortion it goes so extreme. It's, you know, they count the paper towels on the wall and if the hallways are wide enough. And they always make these excuses on when and how and why they can kill the baby. And they even go as far to say, well, we'll even run a bill that says you can murder your baby in all the ways we already have on the books, but once the baby is dead, we have to give it a proper burial because that's the right thing to do. And those are the kind of bills that Indiana Right to Life and the Republican establishment, especially the leadership, promotes and pushes. And that is not what Hoosiers for Life does.
Right, right. And also, I think the GOP still, the GOP legislators, they do believe that life starts at conception, right?
They
I think-
probably do. They
Yeah,
probably do. I mean, they say they do,
right,
but actions speak louder than words. And when you're in a place of authority, you are representing thousands and thousands of individuals in your area. And we only see 2 men at the State House championing these bills that are to protect innocent human life.
right.
That's pretty telling to me that maybe they believe that life begins at conception, but they're not willing to fight or sacrifice to protect that life that begins at conception.
Right, because
Yeah.
if you do believe that, that means when you abort the unborn babies, that is murder. That's you're killing a innocent life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so how deep do they really believe that? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. But I know that when they represent in that complacency, they do not represent my beliefs and my values, along with many of our friends and thousands of people throughout the state. And so that is why we do what we do, so we can actually represent preborn babies and speak up for them in the right way.
Right, right. So why do they do that? Why do they just play?
That's a really great question. And I don't know if there's an exact answer, but there's speculation, lots of it. And you kind of hit on it earlier when you said it's an industry. Yeah. The abortion industry leaks into all kinds of cracks and crevices that we probably don't even realize.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
They always say follow the money, you
Right.
know. Yeah.
Well, I guess the things is not just they performed the abortion, and also because they can use the fetus for something else, right?
Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that are going on in the state that have been exposed over periods of time, but yeah, it's still continuing to go on. I mean, I believe IU University has one of the largest abortionist training programs in our country. So there's all sorts of ways that the abortion industry has its claws into the system, I guess, and people unfortunately, even Right to Life, I think, is very compromising on life in itself. And there's so many people that will give $5 to think that they're actually protecting babies, and they're giving it to complacent groups like Right to Life or different universities, and thinking that they're doing something right when they really are not.
Right. Well, the thing is, like, as average voters, like me included in the past, I just don't know the difference. I don't know the difference between Indiana Right to Life and Hoosiers for Life, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Right. So you think, oh, I mean, they have a name there, maybe. Yeah. So you donate to them, right? You give money to them, so you thought that you are helping. But like you said, sometimes you just have to dig deeper to figure out what is really going on there.
Yeah, and I think that's where people are right now. I think there's been a shift. I think when we first got started, a lot of people just believed Right to Life, and then this isn't I didn't want to come on here and just talk about them, but they're a great example to look at, where people just look at they kind of have the franchise on the pro-life activism model, I guess, and people just think, oh, if I give to Right to Life, or if I go to this event, I'm really helping end abortion. And yeah, I think people just kind of got into the habit of doing that. But now people are researching lots of things,
Mhm.
lots of things. And so we're finding a lot of people that typically would support larger pro-life groups are now coming over to us and saying, what's the difference between you and them? And once they hear that we truly want to end abortion, that we have a plan in place, that we are okay with ending abortion and moving on to the next goal.
Mhm.
So they are slowly trickling our way, and we have found some amazing supporters and volunteers. So yes, very much so. There's a shift happening.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I meet you is at anyways, you give a talk and about Baby River.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And could you kind of elaborate on that? Because I think that's a really in a
Yeah.
way shocking story. Um,
Yeah.
mm,
Baby River was a shocking story for us too.
mm,
We was contacted by his family and told the story. We met with them at their home and heard how they were first-time parents, and he was just a few days away from viability, and considered, through the hospital standards, what
mm,
their documentation had said. And the mom was saying he could be older. We just don't know,
mm,
because there's just no way to prove exactly how old a baby is, especially by measurement. And regardless of that, River should have been given life-saving care. And his parents were at the hospital for a couple of days. She really tried to keep him tucked away inside of her, but he was born, and the hospital staff let her know right away that there was not going to be any treatment. So the charge nurse had even come in and said, I want to be very clear with you. If you give birth to him, we will not provide anything.
wow.
And so they were absolutely devastated. Young couple,
Mm,
didn't know what to do. Their family was out of town. It was just a terrible situation. River lived for several hours,
wow.
breathing, crying, moving, all the things that a baby would do, but a struggling baby. And after I think it was 4 hours, he passed away. And so they had brought us into their home to tell us this heartbreaking story. And I remember they had a little stuffed turtle that they had gotten
Mm,
for him, and footprints from,
yeah.
that it was absolutely heartbreaking. And I remember leaving there and saying verbally, I will do whatever I can take to make sure this never happens again. And as I got in the car, I thought, that's a huge promise, you know,
Mm,
and, but I put River in my heart. I literally thought about him incessantly and thought, how can we fix this? And so we started running what we called the Baby River bill.
mhm,
And every year the GOP establishment would kill it. And then we got clever and we decided, well, first we stuck it inside of our protection of life bill, but then
mhm,
when they would kill the bill, it would kill Baby River's portion as well. And so we took it out then again and ran it as an amendment
mm,
instead, knowing that if we took it out of our bill and ran it, they couldn't say that it was bill pending somewhere else. So there was strategy behind it. We wanted to get it out in front of the chamber, and so we did. We ran the amendment on another bill, and they killed it.
mm.
Went on the record and voted against it,
Okay.
and absolutely horrible. We thought, well, part of us thought, oh my goodness, we just found out that all you guys are not pro-life.
Mm,
So Kurt Knisley and John Jacob, and I believe one other, voted for it, but the rest of them voted to kill it. And we were just could not believe how low they went. But then they knew they were in trouble, and
mm,
they knew that we were going to tell everybody. And we did. We plastered it everywhere. And let everybody that we could talk to know what the GOP just did.
Mhm.
And next thing we knew, I got a phone call that said, you should be watching committees, because I bet you they're going to try to stick that amendment back onto another bill and cover their rears, because they don't want people to know what they just did.
Okay.
And sure enough, that's what happened. I pulled up a committee hearing, and there was JD Prescott giving this spiel about Baby River's situation and the whole story. And it was like watching a movie, because as he was presenting this to the committee members who have heard this story, they know who Baby River is. They've heard this story so many times as we've ran it as a bill and talked about it in the news and our, on our platform. They acted like they had never heard it before in their life. They were like, oh, it was the first time that I realized they know they're on camera and they are a bunch of actors.
Right.
I could not believe it. They voted it out of committee like it was the first time they ever heard the story, when they all voted against it just a few days before.
Wow.
And so they voted it out of committee. It went back onto the floor, and then they voted it out, and we claimed victory that we had passed Baby River.
Right.
But before they did that, they changed the language.
Huh.
They changed the language on the amendment. So JD Prescott himself changed the language so that now it says that babies need to be given life-saving care. But if they're not given life-saving care, there's no consequences. And so shortly after, we got another call from a mother who was in a hospital, Lafayette Hospital, twin girls, right before viability, just a few days before. And the same situation happened again. The doctor and the nurses came in and said, we will not help you. So John Jacob, myself, a whole team of people, probably hundreds of people, because we put a call to action out and said, call the hospital, tell them they must give life-saving care to these girls. And because JD did, he changed that language and that amendment, the hospital, there was nothing forcing the hospital to try to save the girls, and they passed away several hours later.
So that's just like, it's a bill without teeth.
No teeth.
Okay. Wow.
No teeth. But they use it to say how pro-life they are.
Right.
But people don't understand the whole story behind what really happened there.
Wow.
And
yeah. And also shocking to me at the time is that I think you said that if it's in a abortion clinic and the baby was not, still alive, then they have to save the baby.
Yes.
Exactly the same time, right? We're talking about if in the abortion clinic, if a baby is not born alive, then they have to save it.
Yes.
But then,
if a baby, yes.
But then when the parents wants to keep that baby, and now the hospital doesn't have to give the life support treatment. Wow.
Yes, if a baby survives an abortion attempt in Indiana, the hospital staff, it must give the baby life saving care, or the abortion, whoever is there must give the baby life-saving care. But if a baby survives birth, is born premature, there is nothing that says that they have to give that baby oxygen or even try. There's nothing there that says that they have to do that.
Well, it's just so sad because, the doctors and nurses and hospitals are there, to save people's life, right? But then you just let, wow.
Yeah.
But I think that also, because the way, your experience with the GOP politicians, and I think that that's basically the motivation for you to start your, is that a PAC?
Oh, Liberty Defense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We started the PAC when it was before COVID,
Right.
but there were just so many things that we wanted to talk about that we couldn't talk about that were important, like the Second Amendment and small government and raise taxes
Right.
and all of those things. And so there wasn't really a PAC that truly supported Christian conservatives running for office.
Okay.
And so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to find those people, encourage those people to run, give them tools and resources, and then promote them so that Indiana voters knew who was stepping up to the plate. So,
Right.
yep.
Yeah, and actually I went to a event where you reveal the candidates who is running.
Yes,
Yeah.
you were at the banquet.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, yeah.
And I think you started your target was 100, but you got like more than 200, right?
Yes, we did hit our target very quickly. And then so we changed 100 it was 100 candidates in 100 days. And then we changed it to 200 and we hit that mark as well. So yeah, we were shocked and golly, just pleased that Hoosiers were stepping up. Like we were actually seeing the movement move. And that was really encouraging. Yeah.
Right, it is. And also, I mean, I noticed kind of interesting is that this time there are a lot of challengers in the GOP in the May primary, and a lot of those challengers are homeschool moms.
Yeah, that's true. It is
Right.
an army of moms.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is army of moms. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, homeschool moms are very intelligent. So I do homeschool. No.
Yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
yes, I think a big part of it is they are just really concerned about people messing with their kids.
Right.
The moms have the ability to not only care about their children, but they're watchful for other people's children as well. When they see these things coming down the pipe, they want to get involved
Right.
and do something about it. So, and I believe we'll win some races with some,
Right, definitely.
moms.
So how many candidates that you are supporting? Do you have like,
Yeah. So I am invested in about 26 state house rep candidates. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So you can
Yes.
focus on those. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's another thing I think the voters also needs to know is that a lot of those candidates were challenged by the GOP. And like some of my friends actually could not run because they changed the rule.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's very important to know. They did. They knew that the movement was moving. And this is the thing. We all the time talk about how maybe the GOP or the Republicans, we call them rhinos, and kind of downplay that they're smart about what they do, but they're very smart about what they do. They've been playing this game a long time.
Right.
There's other people pulling the strings.
Right.
So they're not dumb by any means. So yes, they saw the movement moving. They saw the Patriots coming. They knew there was going to be an influx of primary challengers. And so they did something about it. And what they did was they put in an unconstitutional law that said that now instead of, well, before it said that you had to vote in one primary in order to run on the Republican ticket or the Democrat ticket. You had to at least have voted for that party in one primary, but now they're saying two.
Right.
And because of that, it eliminates a lot of people. Unconstitutionally, it eliminates young people that couldn't have voted in two primaries, but yet Indiana state law says that they can run. And so it's very contradictory. We had several people kicked off the ballot for really bizarre reasons. Like one lady was removed, even though she had voted in 2 Republican primaries. One of them wasn't in the state of Indiana. Well,
Hmm.
who cares? She's
Right.
a Republican,
Yeah.
but they didn't want her on the ticket, so they booted her off.
Wow.
And, we had another guy who was running, and he's a veteran, and
Hmm.
he was serving overseas
Ah,
during the primary. So, they request their ballots, but they didn't get them.
okay.
And so he's voted in generals, but apparently that doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And anyway, the whole thing is absurd that they have to um, filter you,
Right. Right.
when the whole idea is that the people get to vote who they want in,
Yeah.
not the GOP filtering people.
Right.
And yeah, and what it boils down to is they don't want you in their club.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so they try to keep you out.
Right.
Yeah.
And another trick they did is the redistricting.
Yes.
That they basically trying to redistrict John Jacob and Kurt Knightley out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like John Jacob used to have the part of the Johnson County on northern Johnson County. I mean, Johnson County is a conservative county. So they kind of redistrict that, and he's going to more get into Marion County, which is more Democrat,
Okay.
and so they are waiting actually to lose the seat to get rid of John Jacob.
Yeah, and so that's really fascinating too. It's something that I like to talk about. Is what they are doing right now is they have moved the fall funding for Republican candidates. So there are a handful of people that are the Republicans that have challengers in the fall, but they did not have challengers in the primary. And so these people will face Democrats in the fall. And so what the House Speaker has done, and the GOP in general, they have taken the fall funding that protects those candidates from losing their seat to Democrats. And they have taken that funding and given it to these primary incumbents to fight our patriots.
Wow.
And the reason why they're doing that is because, just what you said, they would rather give their seats up to a Democrat,
Right.
give an entire district up to a Democrat, than have the patriots, the people, the conservatives, these farmers and truckers and business owners that are running, these homeschool moms that are running for office. They would rather give their seats up to Democrats than let them be beat in the primary.
Right, exactly. And also, Kurt Knightley, as I understand that after the redistriction, he's facing another incumbent. So they definitely wants to, they made it very clear they don't want Knightley and John Jacob. Yeah.
Yes, that's true, because they just want to keep doing what they've always been doing. And they lie to the people. They do very little. They claim all sorts of big things. There's a lot of facades going on, and Kurt and John make them look bad.
Right, exactly. I mean, a lot of times they force them to vote, right? To say yes or no and just put on the record. So they cannot, they don't like that.
So true. Yes.
Yeah. And another thing is John Jacob is not endorsed by Right to Life.
Right.
Which is kind of weird. I mean,
you have the 2 most pro-life representatives in the state, and Right to Life doesn't endorse them.
Right.
And so that's very, very telling.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
About the organization, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very telling.
Right. Wow. Well, I mean, I really appreciate what you have been doing. I mean, definitely, I hope more people are aware about especially Right to Life, the organization, and also the difference between that and your organization, and also the candidate that you support.
Mhm.
Yeah, because people, I mean, voters need to know. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, otherwise, you know, most people like we don't really pay much attention in the past, especially in the primary, right? Like you think, okay, but I mean, it's conservative area. You're going to have a Republican, and Republicans saying all of the right things, you know, pro guns, you know, pro Second Amendment, pro life, all of that. But
I
actually,
know.
it turns that when they actually in the state house is quite different. Yeah, I in the past, I mean, I really well, really not involved, but this time I actually got involved with the education. So I went to the state house. There are a couple of bills like SB 17 and HB 1134, and that's where I see how they play the games.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, that was very telling as well.
right. So they basically they are really playing games like they pass in the House but kill that in the Senate, or they pass
Mhm.
in the Senate, they kill in the
Mhm. Mhm.
and then they say, okay, we did all. I mean, we did what we can.
We tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried.
Mhm.
Yeah, they definitely do things for political cover, and they like to protect themselves over the people. And so I think I think here in the last 2 years, people are really becoming aware
Mhm.
of what happens down there and that politics affects them. I know for the longest time I thought this isn't anything I need to be involved in because it doesn't really affect me.
Right.
And I'm sure that there's much smarter people taking care of all of the things, But then I realized that's not really how it is. And
Right. Right.
politics does affect me. And if I don't like the way that it affects me, then I probably should do something about it.
Right.
And everybody can get involved. And they
Right.
should.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
yeah,
also, especially because of COVID, you see that, right? I
yeah.
mean, the mask mandate, the
Mhm.
vaccine mandate. I mean, if we don't uh, put the right people in the state house, I mean, we suffer from that.
We are suffering, even if we don't realize we are, but we are going to suffer more if we
Right.
don't do something about it. And now is this amazing pocket of hope. I mean, I don't think there's ever been anything like this. All these people running for office and
Right.
such a huge opportunity right in front of us.
Mhm.
And it's not just an influx of candidates, it's an influx of activists and
Right.
people that, all these groups and organizations, and people are saying, we're going to stand and fight this. And it's, it's, it's really empowering. It's a precious moment in time and we get to be a part of it. And so, yeah.
Right. I mean, that's where I see the hope, because there is a lot of grassroots uh, organizations, and
Mhm.
also, I mean, a lot of people who normally wouldn't get into politics are really now get into politics.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it affects every single thing in our life. And
Exactly.
it's one of those things we were talking today as a family, and I said, people will understand when it knocks on their door. Sometimes we feel like we just don't get involved in things because
Mhm.
it seems like it's so far away and it doesn't
Mhm.
really affect us. But when it touches our children and when it comes through our TV and when it
Oh yeah.
knocks on our door, then we're like, hey, wait a minute, we've got to do something about this. And that's where people are. So yeah, if our voter guide,
Mhm.
I don't know if I can tell you
Yeah.
that, if that's okay about
Yeah.
you were
Definitely.
on that. Okay, so our voter guide is at libertydefense.us
Okay.
backslash, um, did I say that right? Is it
Yeah.
backslash? It's
Backslash. Yeah.
backslash,
Yeah. Backslash.
voter guide.
Okay.
So yes, it's libertydefense.us, but the state house rep candidates are on there. We think they're pretty amazing. They've been vetted and they're working really hard against incumbents. We would
Right.
love to see many of them win. So all
Yeah.
of them win, all of them. But
Definitely.
yes,
Yeah. I'll put a link in the
okay.
when I publish this. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I know it's kind of late. So thank you for the opportunity that, you know, to share with our audience about what you're doing and your organization and the people you are supporting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.